It is the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. Week 10 college football is in the books. Somehow, I'm going to say this. We are in the month of November, which is the month you remember, and a crazy college football season. I am Matt Barrie. Thanks for joining us each and every Sunday morning. Paul Finebaum going to join us in just a minute. The bedhead is extra good today. You know that thing where they're like, oh, you get an extra hour of sleep. It's going to be great. You're going to feel so rested. It's not true. All that's going to happen today is the sun's going to go down at like 4:45. It's going to be pitch black by 5 o'clock. Then how good is that extra hour of sleep going to do? That's my rant on daylight savings. Why do we still have it, by the way? Didn't we vote for something a while back to get rid of daylight savings? I don't think it does anything. Maybe it's for the farmers. I don't know. Maybe if Paul Finebaum, when he joins us today, we can talk about the reason we have daylight savings. But either way, I don't feel more rested. I just feel excited about what happened on another wild college football Saturday, which, by the way, for a while in Jacksonville, Georgia, Florida looked like it could have gone the Gators' way. Good hands play of the day presented by Allstate. It was Chauncey Bowens who ended the game for the Gators. They got a huge stop on fourth down, did the Georgia defense against the Florida offense when they were in control. And then that's what they do each and every week. I don't know how many times you've watched it here on the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. The Georgia Bulldogs, they're like a boa constrictor, and they're going to kind of just wrap themselves around you. And then at the end, they're going to squeeze you to death. And that's what Chauncey Bowens and the Gators did, or the Georgia Bulldogs did yesterday, getting the win over Florida to remain very much alive in the SEC championship picture race, very much alive in the college football playoff race. And the Gators, again, story of the season, story of the last couple of years, close but not good enough. The Gators go down in Jacksonville. That's our Allstate Good Hands play of the day. As we always do, each and every Sunday morning, we bring in the great Paul Finebaum, who is classy on his set this morning. Like, we're getting Paul Finebaum show graphics. We're getting the whole thing, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt. Yeah, no, my normal equipment didn't work today, so I had to go to the better equipment.
Week 10 of the books. So much to get to today, and I want to start with Penn State, Ohio State, and Indiana, Maryland, because, Paul, the theme of today's show on the eve of the first college football playoff rankings, we're going to discuss it from that prism, because to me, it is completely clear that Indiana and Ohio State, those two are in the Big Ten championship, and they're in the college football playoff with 10 spots left because 2 of them are gone.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know, the only debate I think, and it's still out there, is exactly where does Indiana fit in this spectrum, and that's against the SEC's best. And really, it doesn't matter right now because they're all going to play each other at some point. But in spite of all my friends in Indiana who don't think we like them, Matt, we do like them. They're fantastic. I just want to see them play better competition, which they ultimately will. And you know, the SEC is really where I've spent most of my fall. And we saw some departures last night. Obviously, Tennessee said goodbye to the playoffs. Oklahoma kept its flag in. And they're still, and Georgia just keeps surviving. I mean, I don't know what to make out of the Dogs, quite frankly, Matt, because they're not elite, but they're resilient.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Georgia, it's just who they've been for the past few years. They keep everything close, and in the big games, Gunnar Stockton and the Dogs find a way to win, which I guess every coach will tell you that. But when you look at the SEC big picture, and you mentioned it. You mentioned that Georgia finds a way to get out of there with the win. Texas A&M had the week off. I would put Texas A&M number 1 in the country if I were the committee in the first playoff rankings. I think strength of record, strength of schedule, they deserve to be number 1 in the country. And then you have Texas. You have Texas, who for the 3rd straight week, they did it against Kentucky, they did it against Mississippi State. Paul, they took down the great story in college football, which was Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt yesterday, albeit Vanderbilt came back from 21 down to hang 21 unanswered points. But here comes Arch Manning and the Longhorns that are still in the conversation to play in the SEC championship game.
Matt, I was in Austin, and it was just so weird to be on that field as the game was beginning, talking to McConaughey and everyone else. And they're saying, you know, can we beat Vanderbilt? I mean, it was hard for me to wrap my arms around that. But ultimately, Texas will have its shot. They've survived this stretch. these 3 or 4 games, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, that would normally be the easiest 3-game stretch in the SEC. They still have Arkansas later, which is the easiest win, even though it's never easy. But they do have to go to Georgia, and they have A&M. So they have a legitimate shot. I mean, we can debate 2, 3, 4 weeks from now whether they deserve to be in with 3 losses because of Ohio State. But they have made quite a remarkable comeback. Their offense is a lot better. I don't know what happened to their defense in the second half, though.
Yeah. You know, I think this has been one of Sark's best coaching performances because of all the hype going into the season, because everyone thought they were world beaters because of the quarterback's last name, and they struggled out of the gate. They lost to Ohio State, which is no shame in that. It ended up being a little bit closer, and that close loss ends up looking better now. But then they stubbed their toe against Florida. But then they had to regroup, Paul. Like, Texas had to take some time and figure out who they were. And they almost got twice against 2 bad teams in the SEC, which bad in the SEC is relative based on what we've seen this year. But, man, you got to give Sark a lot of credit because there was a lot of chatter about what the Longhorns were and who Arch Manning is. And I see them now. If people like Finebaum didn't anoint Manning the greatest quarterback in the history of college football, you would look at Manning's stats and be like, you know what? He's having a pretty good season.
And on top of that, Matt, literally until Friday night, nobody knew whether he would play or not. I mean, he's had a rough week, but I think it shows what he is capable of doing. And you're right. A lot of things I'd like to take back. But it's funny. I mean, it just shows you how ridiculous all this is. But you know, as crazy as those predictions were, and I'm not deviating, but equally crazy were those who dug deep in on Penn State, Clemson, and LSU, because there's a lot of people in that boat.
Oops. Yeah. I mean, Dabo yesterday on the sidelines against Duke, I've never, ever seen him act like that. I mean, he is clearly at a breaking point with Clemson. At his post-game press conference, he actually said, I don't know, I might get fired. The AD is right there. He might fire me tomorrow, which I wouldn't blame him. And hell, I'll take the bait. I'll go to Clemson for a minute. With the coaching stuff going on, is it possible that Dabo just wants a fresh start? We were having this conversation the other day, and I said, you know what? There's always that one job that we're forgetting about because we're focused on all these up-and-comers and placing this coach there. Is it possible Dabo's like, you know what? I won 2 national championships here at Clemson, kind of falling flat. I'll let my guy whisper to a couple of schools that maybe I'm interested.
Matt, every time I talk about Dabo, somebody takes it the wrong way, but nobody here is suggesting Dabo Swinney be fired. I am strongly suggesting Dabo Swinney get out of there, though. It's gotten so bad. And I hate to see a Hall of Fame coach act that petulant and that poorly. And I don't have any doubt he can find a job. And sometimes you just have to move on. We've all been there or known someone who has been there. And I think, his agent should look around and say, okay, which one of these openings would be fun for me? Where can I go? Meaning Dabo Swinney, where I can just hit the restart button and quit being a cranky, get off your lawn guy and make these self-deprecating jokes about getting fired when everybody knows he's not getting fired. Although if he's not careful, though, he's going to. If this season ends the way it obviously is, and next season doesn't go well, his fan base will want him fired. Matt, that's the new normal in college football.
And you know what it is I think LSU in the state of Louisiana did themselves such a disservice this week with what's going on in Baton Rouge. You don't have a school president. You have an acting interim athletic director who's been given full service to run this coaching search. And then you don't have a head coach, but you have a governor, which it was great theater. I had never been more entertained in the political arena about something in college football. But when you really look at this job now in LSU in the opening, if you're a coach that's good and that's kind of a big name, and you hear the governor say, we're not going to sign a stupid contract and we're not going to give all our money away would you want that job, Paul? I think that LSU did itself, not LSU, because the school had nothing to do with what the governor said, but that thing just looks chaotic now.
Yeah, and I mean, I've heard a lot of people say this week, well, we need to keep politics out of college football. Wrong. I mean, every university president goes to the state legislature, whether it's Louisiana, Florida, New Mexico, and that's where the money comes from, not for athletics per se, but for the university. All we've heard, Matt, for 3 years, every commissioner going to Washington, pleading with Congress. So politics and college football are intertwined. But the problem with this governor is he just became a caricature of Louisiana governors. And that's hard to do, by the way, when you understand the history of that state. And he made it, if you're Lane Kiffin or somebody else, you're going, do I want to deal with that? And then of all the things that Governor Landry did, he did one thing that really mattered. He fired the athletic director live. I've never seen that before. But the problem is LSU went from the best job in the country to behind a couple of other ones. Now that can repopulate, Matt, assuming they can get somebody in there quickly to be the president and try to settle everyone down. It's still a great job, but particularly for someone like Lane Kiffin, who I think is the number one target of all those schools, I think they were hurt.
Segue to Lane Kiffin, because if you're Lane, they get the win last night at home against South Carolina, who's only got one win in the league. I think they're 1-5 in the SEC now. Just a shocking turn of events there in Columbia. But yeah, you're right. If you're Lane, because one of the big things, and you talk with Lane, Lane, we talk around people connected to him. And number one, the one thing that I hear from everyone in connection with what's going on in Oxford, and this to me, I think is the most important. I know people bring up the family. That's also important. But as it relates to the job in football, Paul, what does everyone tell you and what does everyone tell me? They leave Lane alone. They leave him alone. They let him do his coaching. They give him the money for NIL. He's got Ole Miss in the playoff. They have the Citadel. They have Mississippi State. I'm forgetting one other game. They have Florida. I think they have Florida. Yeah, so Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State. They're in the playoff, barring a complete and utter disaster. You go to Florida or you go to LSU, Paul, I don't think they're going to leave you alone the way that they do in Oxford and just let Lane be Lane.
No, and right now everyone in Oxford is saying we don't bother Lane. I mean, they're afraid of Lane, a little bit Saban-esque. They won't be afraid of him anywhere else. You're right, and he just has to determine. And I think he, don't believe that Lane's not considering these jobs. Okay, I mean, we know Lane. He's watching. He's probably watching this right now, going, "Well, I wonder what they're saying about me right now." And I can't tell you what he's going to do, but it's just a matter. I mean, Auburn came this close, Matt, to getting him 3 years ago. I mean, the family finally said, "Don't go," but that's changed now. I think Lane has another move in him. I just don't know when it is or where it is, but it's coming.
Yeah, and look, at the end of the day, what we know is coming, again, barring any just disaster from Ole Miss, they're going to be in the college football playoff with a really talented team. As it relates to the college football playoff and the ACC, two damning losses for that conference yesterday. Rhett Lashlee, SMU, they take down Miami at home. What a great win for them. First time they'd won a top 10 home game, I think since the early 1970s. Miami goes down, their second loss of the season. They're in trouble. And then you had NC State at home take down Georgia Tech, which was kind of one of the darlings of the ACC along with Virginia. But, Paul, we start looking at how these conferences are going to shake out come playoff time. Those were two bad losses for the league because I thought Miami 11-1, they get in without playing in the conference championship game. But now best they can do is 10-2. And Georgia Tech, I think a lot of people were wondering how good they were anyway. They lose to NC State. They got to battle back. I look at the ACC big picture, and it could be in trouble. Everyone's talking about parity, but if Virginia and Georgia Tech or Virginia and Louisville is your conference championship, I mean, even Virginia and Pitt, I mean, how are you looking at that conference from 35,000 feet?
Poorly, and it's been an entertaining. I watched a lot of ACC football yesterday coming home. And I mean, there are a lot of really fun teams to watch, but they're starting to cannibalize each other. And you remember Georgia Tech still has to deal with Georgia. That game is at the end of the season. There are a lot of other tough games. Miami has to go to Pitt. I mean, the Miami loss was just inexcusable. I realize SMU is a good team, but it's getting hard to watch this Miami program every year almost do something.
Yeah, and look, when you look at Carson Beck, one of the interceptions wasn't his fault. Came right off a receiver's hands, right into Ahmad Moses' hands, who had the interception in overtime. But it seems like it's the same as it ever was. They have more talent than anyone in the ACC. That's not debatable. But at some point, they stubbed their toe, and I thought they got that over with against a good Louisville team, and they were just going to use that to reset the season. A playoff Miami team not getting in, that's tough to swallow, Paul, because to me, they have the best roster in the league, and it's been the quarterback, and it's been just self-inflicted wounds. I think when Miami's good and in the conversation for a conference and national championship, it's good for the sport. I don't know that we're going to get that again this year.
No, you think about going back to the opening weekend of the year when we had back-to-back games, Matt, with LSU over Clemson the next night, Miami over Notre Dame, and how worthless those games seem to be right now. I mean, it just feels very familiar, and I've become a Mario Cristobal fan. I mean, there's a path. It's not good. It's not easy. But that was just damaging yesterday, and I don't. Right now, it's hard to imagine them overcoming that.
And speaking of path, again, Tuesday night, we get the first college football playoff rankings. It's my favorite night of the week because everyone will scream as if it's the final rankings and that's how they're going to live for the rest of the year. In fact, it's not. It's just to entertain us until the final ones come out. So having said that, Paul, who would you put number one? Two-part question. Who would you put number one, and who do you think the committee will put number one?
Yeah, I would put Ohio State number one, and I think the committee will put Ohio State number one. And I know we're using a very difficult metric because I really like what A&M and even Alabama have done. But I think if you're true to yourself, you have to go with Ohio State, and I think this committee will.
And it's interesting because of that. True to yourself for a couple of reasons. One, they're defending national champions. Two, they haven't lost. And three, they just look as good as they did the year before. And Julian Saints having a remarkable year. I, for some reason, have it in me, Paul, that they're going to look and they're going to look at resume and strength of record. I would not be shocked if they had Texas A&M number one, specifically because of the resume and specifically because of the strength of record metric, because they want to, here's what I think they want to do. I think they want to separate themselves as much as they can from the Associated Press poll. And right now that's got Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, and Texas A&M number 3. So if you trot it out that way, how much different and unique are your rankings and your methods and the criteria if you don't take a look at body of work and say, well, you know what? The strength of record number to me says Texas A&M is the number one team in the country with the hardest strength of record. We're going to put them number one and let this play out.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what the philosophy is, and that's what this committee is about. It's about a mindset. And you said it a minute ago, and I don't want to upstage all the ESPN morning shows on Wednesday, but it really just doesn't matter. We are just, I mean, when you realize how little the first poll matters, and I know you do, but it's just something to put. It's a marker to put down. But call me what I'm going against my talking points here that the SEC delivers to us every Sunday morning on the Matt Barrie Show, but Ohio State should be number one.
And finally, I look, and you wouldn't get any argument from me from that. Speaking of the SEC delivers every Sunday morning here on the Matt Barrie Show, presented by Allstate, I want to give you this opportunity before we get out of here. Is there any chance, we see it all the time, week off, let the dust settle, let the debris and the dust and everything calm down, coming out of a bye week for both teams? Is there any chance whatsoever LSU, Garrett Nussmeier, and the Tigers rise up and pull off a stunner against Alabama?
I don't think so, Matt, but I will tell you, I give LSU a much better chance. There goes my future relationship with Brian Kelly. I give LSU a much better chance without Brian Kelly. We don't need to dissect that or do the autopsy. Everybody else has done it, but they have a chance to be a better team. I mean, look at Florida. On Saturday against Georgia, there's something about this interim energy. There are all kinds of words for it. We see it. It's just how sustainable is it? I think it will be sustainable for maybe 2 quarters, maybe 3, but ultimately beating Alabama at home, I do not see it, not at all.
And you just heard all this stuff, and I've done more reading on post Brian Kelly LSU. And the one thing you always read about, we know this about this job, I mean, dating back to Nick Saban, State of Louisiana is a proud place, and there's a lot of State of Louisiana football players on that team. They probably feel like they've been slighted throughout the season because of this coaching circus. I'm with you. I think it's going to last for a while, maybe even to the fourth quarter. And at the end of the day, Alabama, Ty Simpson, that group has played as good as anyone in the country, but it's going to be a fun one to watch. I hate that it's not the game that used to decide the SEC East when they'd get down to it, or the SEC West, I'm sorry. They'd get down to it. It'd be the SEC West championship on the line. That used to be so good. Now without divisions, it's like who's going to get the upper hand on one another. But we'll see what happens between the two. And if that interim magic continues, that would really throw college football on its axis if Alabama goes down to LSU. But I'm with you. I don't know that I see it happening. What I do see happening, Week 11, we have made it to November. Paul, big picture, something to watch in November as we embark on the final month of the season.
Well, I still think we're going to see upsets, Matt. And where are they? We've already seen the ACC upsets. I still think the SEC has some critical games. I mean, we have, in addition to what you laid out a minute ago, think about this. Georgia goes to Mississippi State. It is not a game that the country is going to be riveted to, but Mississippi State has almost beaten a number of schools, Tennessee at home. They lost in overtime. They lost to Texas in overtime. They did finally get a win. That's a game to keep your eye on. The Texas-Georgia game in 2 weeks is epic. Alabama, you mentioned against LSU this weekend. They have Oklahoma after that, and then they have to go to Auburn. So they have a difficult path. And we talk about Auburn. Nobody knows where Hugh Freeze is going to be today, but the fans last night were chanting "Fire Freeze," and it's hard to imagine his future being very bright. But I think there's so many different games that are going to determine it. A&M has to go to Texas, so there will be more upsets and more chaos.
I said it yesterday in studio. I'm going to say it here. There will be a 3-loss team in the college football playoff. You can lock that in. It's just a matter of who it's going to be and why they're going to be there. But you can guarantee we will be here for you on the Matt Barrie Show, presented by Allstate as we head to Week 11 of the college football season. Thank you, Paul. Talk to you next week.
You want this, you got that. Don't wait, watch them walk right past you. Run fast while you have the chance. Don't speak, let them look right at you.